We failed. We hold the power in this land. Based on us, God will destroy or heal this land. We failed. The influence of the church began to die when people started making too much money. You know, there was a point that church was real. Respect was real. Communities were real. But you know what happened? The church became too profitable. And when it became profitable, all the ministers went and rushed into a good lifestyle. And they called that a blessing. Oh, the Lord blessed me with a mansion. And yes, I know my two neighbors beside me are starving. Yes, I know this half my congregation is losing weight because they're not eating enough, but I just got blessed with this Lexus or Mercedes. They became a servant to their homes and their cars, what they say they were blessed with. They took an incorruptible thing called a blessing. You see, because any gift from above is without regret. It doesn't rust or anything else. So they took that simple word, and they corrupted that word, making it corruptible, calling money a blessing. I call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. I call it greed. Jesus told us some very specific things for those of us who would carry the gospel. You see, we have to be ready to give up everything to do His will. And in most cases, guess what? That's the way it works. You find someone telling the true word of God without restraint, you'll find a person that does not live in a mansion. They don't have 5 and 6 cars. Their influence and their motivations is not a compromise to continue to get the money. They're not speaking this prosperity message. They're certainly not telling you your life is going to be good and get better and better. They're not telling you that. They're saying Jesus is coming and this world is falling apart, just like God said it would. I've noticed something about prophets in the Old Testament. They never had anything good to say. Did you guys notice that? They never said a good thing. Jesus, speaking about the future, He didn't say a good thing. We can look forward to one good thing, that if we continue to stay within the blood, we'll be like Him. We'll make it. That's a good thing He said. And He promised He would walk with us as we walk with Him. The rest of the things that He said, they're not so good. He promised us trials and tribulations. He promised us hardships. He told us you have to bear your cross. The prophets of old told us that things were going to go bad and kingdoms would be lost. The heavens would be all messed up and out of whack. Yet now we face a division in the Word of God because some people say, no, I refuse to believe that God is evil. That's not God being evil. That's Him closing, He's finishing the end of this story. That's not Him being evil. We've been around for a long time, and man's heart is continually evil. They've done a great many things themselves without intervention from Satan. They blame Satan, yes. But if a man's heart is continually evil, we're becoming just like the demons are. Not the believers, but men in general. You know, a demonic spirit is one thing, but I can submit to you something. There are a lot of men that live in this earth who are far worse than a demon is. A demon will not overstep its boundaries. Men will. Does a demon murder, or do men murder? Demons cannot touch you. Satan cannot touch you. They can't do that without permission. But men's hearts are continually evil. You know, God said it grieved Him that He made man. Sad thing. But we don't have to participate in what's forming around us. We don't have to be engaged. You know, this is going to require us to have a strong grip on the Word of God. If you let go just for a moment, you could be swept away. This time that we're in is almost like a strong stream is flowing, and we're bobbing in and out of the water, but we're holding on to the hand of Jesus Christ. If we let go, we could be swept away. We have to hold on. All of our foundations are about to be inspected from this storm that the Lord is allowing to form. This is a storm. This storm will include hatred. It will include chaos. It will include casualties. It will include war. It will include celestial happenings. It will include divisions, strifes. These things will be inclusive in this storm. Anybody whose foundation is not in Jesus Christ, is not founded on the principles Jesus Christ gave to us, you're going to lose your foundation in your house. Your house is not going to withstand it. It's going to crumble. Now, I say that from the heart. Because if you shut out the world for a moment of prayer, just shut out the world, its cares, the thoughts of the world and everything else, things become clear. If the noise of the world is louder than the message of Jesus Christ in your life, you have some work to do. You have some decisions to make. You need to recheck your motives. Don't let the noise of the world outweigh the message of Jesus Christ. That is your choice. The world cannot overwhelm you unless you allow it to. So no more excuses saying, these problems in life and these difficulties are taking me away from the Word. No, don't use that excuse. Don't do it. Because when you stand before God the Father all by yourself and everything is changed and Satan is bound, you're going to stand alone as an individual, knowing all truth at that moment. There's no way you can lie to him. You cannot lie to him. He'll see the truth of you, and you will see the truth of yourself. So ask yourself this question. Isn't it better to fight here, not trusting what you see, than to get there and attempt to lie to God and give him excuses? He won't accept excuses. First of all, he's already pardoned us from a great many things. Walk in his blood. Trust. He's with you. He walks with you as you walk with him. But we don't have to participate in what's forming. We are the power that resides in this country. We're not going to, I for one, will not participate in Satan's set up board game. He set the stage for all of what is happening. Yes, the Lord is allowing that to happen, but never once did he say, okay, children, go play this game. He didn't say that. I won't be one of the pawns or pieces. However, we still have the power to petition for this nation and for its people. Though the Lord may have made a decision in his mind, and that's fully up to him, we can still petition. We can still petition. You see, I believe in the power of prayer. I still believe that, you know what, there's a span of time that is unaccounted for. I believe it's unaccounted for because it's based on the children's decision, their readiness. You see, the Lord wants all of us prepared. All of us. He wants all of us prepared. But he also told us what he would do to our land if we ever got together and prayed about it. He didn't give a timing on when he was going to send Jesus Christ because a certain number of Gentiles has to be fulfilled. A certain number must be under the altar. You see, that depends on us. And I strongly believe the timing of our Father depends on his children. It depends on his children. We still can petition in prayer. But we can petition for our brothers and sisters also. We don't have to play this game. A great many people have been shouting for at least 20 years, saying prepare. And you know what? In the scheme of things, 20 years is not a long time. It's just not a long time. But in the span of that 20 years, you have some very good, persistent individuals who have been screaming from the rooftops, get ready, it's coming. And I'm not talking about get ready for the blessings, because you had a lot of people talking about get ready for all the blessings. Have you guys seen those blessings? I haven't. In fact, the Lord said his people would not see blessings of that type nature. When he pours out the windows of heaven, money does not fall out. Wisdom does. Knowledge does. However, this Middle Eastern fiasco that's happening over there has changed the minds of a great many people. They're now reasserting prophecy. They have to reassert prophecy. This was somewhat unexpected, yet even it is still under question. When it says the Antichrist comes up from a small people, have no regard of a woman, it certainly does sound like a devout Muslim individual, a radical Muslim. But when it says he will worship a God his fathers knew not, this is pointing to the fact that this individual is going to be in service for himself. In other words, there's a deity on the rise also. A deity to them, of course, on the rise also, which will empower this individual enough to exalt himself above all that is called God. We need to be sober, keeping sound doctrine, because a great many people are having their ears tickled. People are being told exactly what they want to hear. Very few are telling people what they don't want to hear, which is concerning the gospel of Jesus Christ. Have you guys noticed that not many people talk about the gospel anymore? They're consumed with something else. Have you all noticed that? The gospel is becoming this old message that's back in the past. Even the message of salvation is not as it once was. You know what people say who don't even know Christ? They'll say, oh, I'm saved already. I'll go to heaven. Why are you going to go to heaven? Well, I'll just be good in life. You know, they really don't know and don't care who Jesus Christ is. And they still think they're going to heaven. But they say that because they don't care if they go to heaven or not. They're not concerned about it. You know why? Because they don't believe in anything. They think if they die, that's it. So they want to maximize on life as it is right now. This is spreading all over the place. These same people will adopt any religion because it's fun. And that's going to affect some of us who do believe. You see, you may be walking in a group of these people. You may find yourself compromising to fit in. You may compromise your faith to fit in. Some people, some of us hard-headed people will be tested with the ultimate test, death. What are we going to say? I wonder how many people have actually thought about it. I mean, sat down and thought about it. Because here's the fact. There are a lot of people who say, oh, I don't fear death. But this is what they say, right? But if they break a limb or get a bad cold, they get scared. Oh, I got to go see a doctor. This will kill me. This is what they're saying. They're scared to death. If you're not scared of death, nothing will bother you physically or anything else. You just wouldn't. It's not in your mind if you're not scared of death. But as soon as an individual gets a bad sickness, they want to go see a doctor. Their blood pressure jumps up. Now, oh, I got to see a doctor quickly. That same individual that said, I'll die for the word of God. And they won't even, they're worried about dying over a cold, something else. They get scared when it comes to death. They get scared in accidents. They're traumatized in things. If you really do not have a fear of death, you're not going to be traumatized by anything that attempts to take your life. You won't have a fear of people. You won't have a fear of any situation. Your mind will be on something else. That's why yesterday I said we really shouldn't boast about what we're going to do, but rather pray and seek God for things instead of boasting about what we're going to do. All of those who have been in battle, you understand that in the battle, men are defined. You're defined in the battle, not before the battle. In the battle, some strong people freeze up. Some of the ones that were quiet come to the forefront. They execute their duties flawlessly. The ones you counted out end up saving lives, and the ones you thought you could depend on run like cowards. That's what happens in war. People are defined in war. You know why? Because when your life is threatened, you no longer care about acting school, which is the life you portray to everybody else, the character you portray to everybody else. Your true self surfaces. Who you really are begins to surface. The same thing also happens in sickness. If you get sick and your mouth is foul and everything else, you should pray that the Lord clean your heart out, because that's who you really are. But if you get sick and you're caring towards other people, you don't want them to feel any of the sickness you're feeling, then you're a truly kind person. We need to seek our Father, not boast about tomorrow. Seek your Father. The very thing you boast about, the very thing you proclaim for tomorrow, Satan will be right there to make sure you avoid it. You invite Satan in for a challenge. The one thing I can boast about is this: Jesus is Lord of my life. That's what I can boast about. Jesus is Lord. I can boast about that. But you know what? There's no way I can know the limits of testing to this flesh. There's no way. The enemy is the enemy for a reason. The Lord allows trials and tribulations for a reason. So I don't boast about tomorrow. I know some people say they won't take the mark of the beast, yet they'll hold on to every dime that they have. And you see, in prophecy it says, people were not able to buy and sell without the mark. These same people won't throw away their credit cards, they won't change your lifestyle, they won't give you $1, but they're not going to take the mark of the beast. And everything they do evolves around money. Do you really think these people are going to take the mark of the beast? They're already wearing the mark of the beast on their sleeve. They'll compromise to keep their cash flow coming in. They're already compromised. Yet they say they won't take the mark of the beast. What we should do is ask the Lord to give us strength every single day. Give us strength. We have to be wise in the words we release over our lives, because everything you release, believe me, it's going to be tested. Within the body, when one of the members of a body is affected or wounded, it affects the entire body. If you were walking through your living room and stubbed your toe on a side of a wall, you would stop instantly. Your face would be affected. You would hold your little foot and pinky toe until the pain went away. You'd rock back and forth. All portions of your body would halt for the sake of that one body part. And the pinky toe is quite small. But have you ever noticed the smallest members of the body are the most sensitive to the body? You see, you really don't recognize them until something happens and pain courses through the entire body. Just like your body, your entire body would respond to that pinky toe. We should respond to each other. If you see your brother and sister in distress, remember they're part of the body, they're your brother and sister. You can pause, certainly you can pause something for a moment to care for that individual. Prayer is the same way. You know, sometimes within the body of Christ, we know when a person's habits change. We know when they don't respond the way they did yesterday. We know when something is wrong, and when this happens, we should stop and pray for that individual. If you notice something in the body, then it is your responsibility to respond. I know a lot of people are like that in their own family. They notice things nobody else can notice. There's a reason you're noticing that. And by the way, you also understand that you can pray. You are a believer And when a believer notices something that's wrong, they have a responsibility as both a part of the body and a citizen of the kingdom. It's your responsibility. There's a reason you notice these things. Great many people, normally they get upset and say, why can nobody see this? Why? Because you're meant to see it, not everybody else. It's when we petition. Listen, don't worry about yourselves. You yourselves, a believer in Jesus Christ, you're protected. The eyes of the Father are upon you. Believe me, He's not going to let anything get in the way where He cannot see you. The eyes of the Lord are upon you. They're upon His children. But it's those outside of the blood of the Lamb who you petition for, because they're going to have issues and problems. They're going to be displacements. They're going to be overwhelmed by the evil plans of men. They're going to panic. They're going to think that this is the end of the world and everything else. And most importantly, a great many of them are coming straight to you because they said you're not like them. You know, it's actually a blessing in disguise. It's a blessing in disguise because you were identified as being different among your family because of your beliefs. It hurt you in the beginning, but it's going to serve you well in the end. You can't communicate with half of them because they simply won't listen to you. They'll say, oh, that's nonsense, and you said that last year, and this, that, and the other. So when it happens, guess what? Everybody they previously spoke to, they don't want to hear from them. They want to hear from the one that talked about the same subject a long time ago. You've been identified among those around you. And yes, it was perceived as hurt in the beginning, but you've been identified. One of the smart things to do is prepare yourself mentally, because they're going to come to ask you questions. Hating your fellow man is to commit murder. If you hate your brother, you're a murderer. How much darkness will that evoke? Stipulation on what kind of man. It specifically said, Jesus said, if you hate your brother, you're a murderer. That's what Jesus said. Now this hatred is breeding. Hatred is found in a mob, and a mob is forming in America. A mob is forming in many nations. It doesn't matter the method of why hatred is surfacing. It only matters that hatred is surfacing. Now do you see how leathery, slick, and slimy Satan is? They don't blame it on Satan. They blame it on political policy. They do not believe the origins of all this confusion is Satan. They have blamed it on a group of people, ultimately to a person. And in that, well, that's something within itself. If people would identify the true thief, well then when a thief is caught, he has to pay back sevenfold. Unfortunately, Satan hides in the guise of many things. Policy, rules, regulations, circumstances. We have to learn to properly identify the enemy, but we don't have to partake in his games.